Hashem's Vasai Tiftach Upi Agitzasacha. We're now in the 10th Perek of Yehoshua. This Perek is a very famous Perek. We have possibly one of the most famous lines in all of Yehoshua, but in all of Tanakh. And we have the first time that the word Yerushalayim, spelled without a yud, is mentioned, and in Nach. Now, Yerushalayim, we remember, it's Yeru and Shalim. So it was Malki Tzedek, who some say, or the Mefarshim talk about that he was Shem, and he was one, and Avram was another person, and they put the two names that both of the people gave to make Yerushalayim. And why is that significant? Because Yerushalayim is a place that is built on the combination of a lot of different people and ideas, and the beauty and everything is all together. So it starts off even in the name Yerushalayim, and here this is the Adoni Tzedek, which kind of reminds us of Malki Tzedek, Melech Shalim, and really he leans on Yehoshua. When the king Adoni Tzedek Yerushalayim, he learns that Yehoshua had captured Ai and Yericho, and he's a famous guy, and what happened with Givon. So he's very frightened, and now Givon is a very large city, and what he then does is he sends message to the king of Hebron and the king of Yarmus and all these five kings. And he says, please help me to conquer against Yehoshua. And obviously all the people that are loyal and have aligned with Yehoshua. And so these five kings, which again is reminiscent of the five kings against the four kings with what happened with Avram. It's kind of like we're walking back in history, and we're doing it in a different way. So instead of Avraham battling with the five kings and the four kings, it's the nation of Israel walking in those same shoes, and they're going to come to a larger battle, and it's all of Israel that's doing it. Now, the people of Givon say, when they find out what's happening, please, you have to help us, because we have all these kings and all these people that are gathered against us. And the word that is used is Ale aleinu mehira v'hoshia lanu v'azrenu. So either, right, it is help us or help us, but the words that are used are different, and they're very significant. Hoshia, from the word Yehoshua, is when Hashem takes care of everything, where you don't have to do much. You just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Azreinu is where you get partial help, but the rest you have to pull it your weight. You have to do more. And the interesting thing is, though the two sources of that word, Hoshea and Ezra, are exactly the leaders. One that brought the Bnei Israel into Eretz Israel, right, Yehoshua, and one, Ezra, with Ezra and Nehemiah, all the way when in many months from now, where Ezra and Nehemiah, the gematria of Ezra and Nehemiah together, Rabbi Rosner mentioned, which is a Gra Dvar Torah, which is just absolutely, the Vilna Gaon was able to figure out that Ezra and Nehemiah together equal Yehoshua. But they're asking for any kind of help. Either you help us by taking care of all of it, or you help us, we'll help too, but please, you can't leave us alone. Like this isn't going to work. And so Yehoshua goes, he marches up from Gilgal with all his troops and all his trained warriors, and Hashem says to him, Al tiramehem, don't be afraid. Well, why is it that sometimes Yehoshua is told by Hashem not to be afraid, and other times, he doesn't mention it? Why specifically here is he mentioning it? And, we understand with Ai very clearly, they lost the first round. So obviously Yehoshua is going to need a level of support. But here what's happening is Yehoshua gets an altira because maybe he's not really supposed to be helping these Givonim. Maybe, the magic of HaKadosh Baruch Hu helping Bnei Israel doesn't doesn't translate into a battle that has to do with the Givonim. So Hashem is saying, no. This is exactly, you're in the right place at the right time. Don't be afraid. I'm going to give them over to you. And not one of them is going to be able to stand up to you, not to worry. And so that is exactly what Yehoshua does. Pitom, suddenly he has the elements of surprise, a strategic military experience, and he goes all night from Gilgal, and Hashem basically makes them panic. Yehoshua is able to defeat everyone. He chases after them. But the most interesting part, Vayibin Nasam Bnei Israel, when they're leaving, they're fleeing from the Bnei Israel. And so here's what happens. Very cool thing. Hashem sends these huge stones from the sky. I just love the imagery of the stone. It seems to be really relevant in literally every single Perek. So here, Hashem is sending stones. What are the stones? Where are these stones from? So remember, Hashem doesn't waste. Hashem doesn't forget. Everything is kadas v'kedin. There's always an accountability for each thing. These were the stones. These were barad. This is part of the makkah from one of the plagues of hail. And when Moshe Rabbeinu told the hail to stop hailing, it stayed up in the sky and it waited until now. Because there's a rhyme and a reason, a purpose to every single thing in nature. And whatever Hashem creates is perfect. It's perfectly suited for its responsibility. So the barad waited around. And more people died in this way than just in the regular sword battle that transpired. And basically, that was a wonderful miracle. And then comes miracle number 2. Yehoshua right? On that occasion, right now, Yidaber Yehoshua LaHashem, B'yom Tes Hashem Amori. And what does he say? So at that moment, Yehoshua is going to speak, and he tells in front of all the people, because this is a Kiddush Hashem moment. This isn't a moment to help for a battle. This isn't a moment for the Bnei Israel's sake. This is a moment for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for Hashem's sake. And he says the famous line, one of the most famous lines in the whole of Tanakh, and definitely one of the most famous, if not the most famous line in Sefer Yehoshua, Shemesh begivon dom v'yareach be'emek ayalon. Sun, stop. Stop what? Dome, stop speaking. What do you mean stop speaking? What does that even mean? So, in fact, all of creation, every day, all of our actions are just singing the song of praise to Hashem. That's what we do. And the Yareach, so the Yareach, just was kind of, Yehoshua really had to command the sun. The Yareach just followed in suit. So how and why? So really, the Midrash talks about that the sun said, excuse me? You're telling me what to do? You know I came before you in creation. What are you telling me what to do? I'm the kingpin of all the celestial beings, and we have intellect. Like, what are you thinking? And Yehoshua said, no, I need you to do that for Kiddush Hashem. And so the son said, but I sing praise. My responsibilities give praise and sing to Hashem. And Yehoshua said, well, then, if that's the case, I will sing for you. Just like we have Az Yashir Moshe, we have Az Yidaber Yehoshua. It's the same word of Az. Yehoshua promised the son, I'll take care of it. I'll sing the praises. I need you to do this in order to show a Kiddush Hashem for the Bnei Israel, show a Kiddush Hashem for all the rest of the world, as well as to teach the Bnei Israel what, the glory of this miracle. It was a Kiddush Hashem moment. Now, did he have to make a miracle? Well, he actually did, because what would have happened is that the people would have just attributed the miracle to something more natural. Oh, they had good strategy. Oh, and Yehoshua was saying, no, this is not a strategic moment. This is a moment that is going to go down in history. Remember, it's Ladoros, it's forever. And he wanted to make sure that there was a recognition. And so he wanted the sun to stop. Now, the moon just followed in suit because remember, Moshe is compared to the sun and Yehoshua is compared to the moon. They're kindred spirits. So the moon was like, yeah, no problem, I got this. But moreover, the Shemesh, the sun, its nature was never to change. A sun doesn't change. The moon waxes and wanes. Its nature is a flexible nature. So tell it what to do. It didn't bother it so much. Which again, they're different personalities. But in this case, what Yehoshua, his primary focus is just HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, when the sun does and the moon does exactly what's being asked, and the Mefarshim talk about how many hours it was, essentially it was a full day. Again, to go within the realm of what could be natural, because if it would have been a couple of hours and then to reset, then everything would have been impacted, not just the sun and the moon, but then literally everything would have been off kilter. So it makes sense that it was only for 24 hours. And all of it is written in the Sefer HaYashar. What is the Sefer HaYashar? So this is a beautiful pitch for having, really not being a prejudiced person. The Sefer HaYashar is the Torah. Why? Because the Avos, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they were Yashar. What does it mean to be Yashar? What it means is that you see people as people and you respect them for being human, even though you don't respect them for what their decisions are. So, for example, Avram Avinu, he literally tried to save Sodom while he fundamentally was opposed to what they were doing. As human beings, he had enough respect. And having Yashar is really a precursor to being able to be a Talmid Chacham, to be able to study Torah. It's not appropriate in the order of what makes sense to not have good midos and not to be respectful of other people and then to be a Talmid Chacham studying Torah. It doesn't jive. So in any event, so that's exactly what happens for an entire day. And after that, it has never happened before. On this level, it happened. Moshe was able to, change nature with the and his Nakimon was also able to do that. But this is something of a huge miracle. And then they all return to Gilgal, and these 5 kings start to flee, and they hide in a cave. And again, Yehoshua found out about that, and he takes a large stone, he puts it in the mouth of the cave, and he guards them. But he tells everyone, this is not the time to rest. Just do what you got to do. And they literally just wipe out everybody. And that's pretty much the end of this war. They are able to go to all the different areas. And then finally, Yehoshua says, okay, now, the kings, get them out of the cave. And he takes them out of the cave. And what's very important is what he does from them. So first of all, he tells the people to put your feet on the necks of the kings. And again, everything that he's doing is in a didactic form. He wants people to really learn what it means to follow in the way of Hashem, and that even everything in the battle has a fundamental meaning. So by putting their feet on the neck of the kings, what they're really saying is, you see these kings, their head and their bodies are not connected. They think of themselves as royal, but they act not in accordance with the true royalty, which is Hashem. They have ideas that are not helpful to the rest of their own potential growth. And so, by putting a foot on the neck, it's kind of saying, well, you separated out your smart intellect from how your body functions. So, we're going to do that for you. And then, again, Yehoshua says, Al tiru v'al techatu chitzku v'imtzu, get strong. Because this is, Hashem. It's all about Hashem and you're at war in you're fighting in the battle of Hashem. And ultimately he puts them to death. And like a good Jewish person, what did we do? So after they are hung, it's only until Erev, until the evening. And then they're taken down and they're thrown into a cave. And the large stone is put over that cave until this very day. Ada Yom Hazeh. Again, why? Because it's important to recognize exactly what happens. And so then he captures all the rest of all the rest of the people and all the rest of the lands from Mikida, Levana, Bilachim, and Levana. And he attacks each land. He attacks, and Hashem delivers the Bnei Israel into their hand. They deliver it by sword, and he treats everyone just as he did with the king of Jericho. And that's it. They basically come to this huge success. And the success of all these 5 kings and all, it's just absolutely amazing. It's a huge accomplishment. And he's now taking down, remember, one by one, basically in every Perek, there's another level of an enemy that he takes, and he doesn't let anybody escape, so he doesn't have to deal with them anymore. And he basically conquers. Yehoshua es kol haaretz, basically everything from the Negev, Shpela, Ashdos, and all the different kings and the slopes, and none of them escape, so he doesn't have to deal with the headaches of them afterwards. And it's all from Hashem, right? Because all he does, lachad Yehoshua pamachas, just one time. Why? Ki Hashem Elokei Yisrael nilcham Yisrael. It's all from Hashem. Vayashav Yehoshua v'chol Yisrael imo el machaneh haGilgala, and then they return home. And this is a beautiful Perek that highlights, first of all, the power that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives to nature. And one of that strong power, most powerful thing, is the koach hadibur, is what we say, right? The son was significantly worried that she would not have the opportunity to sing, because her words matter for Kiddush Hashem. And Yehoshua tells her, says, absolutely don't worry, I will sing for you. The words are fundamentally important, and I will get them out. And so, you see that is a very powerful element. We also see that whatever Hashem says, Hashem gives, a real level of depth to chazak v'amat. He cares emotionally for the Bnei Israel. And so he tells the Bnei Israel he could just make miracles, but he wants their involvement, and he's giving them emotional support to actually get there. And so what we see is, while Hashem could totally have made huge miracles all by themselves, he doesn't. He involves them, and he's doing everything as he can to do it as naturally as possible. And that level of nature, however, is not to be mistaken with the power of Hashem. Clearly, in Yehoshua's saying, sun and moons, stop moving, was Yehoshua's way to show and to highlight, no, that all of the powers that you give over, that you basically relinquish to all other beings, be it a person, be it money, something concrete, whatever it is, what you're doing is you're taking it well beyond what its real capability is, because ultimately it's all from Hashem, and Hashem fights the battles. And this is a highlighted example of how amazingly successful the battles could go. But they're also, everyone's on board. They have Yeshua as their leader. This is a golden age. This is a very special time where Yehoshua is allowing for their, to be the conduit for the Yehoshua, for being saved. Being saved, for the Bnei Israel basically don't have to do anything, but they have to look like they are. So we're desensitizing. We're removing the Bnei Israel first from a time where it's just totally miracles, and here Hashem is functioning as miracles, but He is allowing the Bnei Israel to walk the walk, and in doing that, we're moving away from a level of emotional dependence to a level of independence. We are trying our best, and Yehoshua is doing a great job leading the people, and the people are experiencing major miracles, but not from their bedroom window. They're experiencing it from being in the trenches with, so to speak, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when that becomes the scenario, it's a very, very beautiful one that Yehoshua, again, he uses the stones to highlight, we need to remember these moments. These are the moments that count. These are the moments that are going to last forever. Everything has to be for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One final thought is that he created the situation because the battle was happening on Erev Shabbos. And he did not want that the battle would continue on Shabbos because, Shabbos is obviously so holy. And so even though technically you don't have to leave battle on Shabbos, but he just wanted everything lifnim mishra sadin. He wanted it in the utmost. And so for the utmost reason, again, we don't know if it was because he thought that, Gilgal, is a different kind of mitzvah to help them than him conquering the land. But irrespective of that, a lot of different layers are going into Yehoshua's decision, but ultimately everything that he's doing for Hashem. And that by itself is a highlight of Nach.